Matt, I feel like last week I disappointed us both. So I'm going to go ahead and start off the top right now to ensure that I make sure that people know that it might be time to cancel us. Because I'm going to say today's show is all a retrospective of O.J. Simpson's filmography on Matt Mint Movies.
You know what? I could talk about the Naked Gun movies. I could talk about Capricorn One. I love Capricorn One.
I was talking about the Klansman. Anyways, we're ready to
Oh,
go. Hello, everybody. Matt Mint Movies
I haven't
Podcast.
seen the Klansman.
Oh, well, it's got Lee Marvin in it, so I've seen it. This is a show about movies, even about the most random movies that you didn't even know existed and probably wouldn't even tell anybody in public that you've seen them before. Matt, welcome to the show. We've got so much to talk about this week. This is going to be a rapid fire episode because it gave you like 27 topics on the Excel
There's
spreadsheet.
so many topics. We should really just do like two.
Nope, we're going through all of them right now.
We
Here
never
we go.
we didn't even get to like the most
I know
important
we
one
did.
last time.
I know we never made it there.
We
So
never made it, and that was the one I was really looking forward to.
it happens. We get chitty chatty sometimes, and we go and we go, and that's how we do. Matt Man Movies is a podcast as well as a video cast. You can see us in our magic of our faces on the World Wide Webs or on Channel 26 on your local access on Albuquerque TV. Either way, you can see us
And
or
thank you
listen to
guys,
us.
and thank you guys for putting us on there.
Thank you,
We
thank you,
really
thank you
appreciate it.
very much. Look
Appreciate
forward
it.
to that. My team,
By the way,
Yes.
there is one thing on the list I don't think I want to talk about.
Blair Witch reboot.
No, I'm actually all for that because I got thoughts on that. No, the Corridor Digital guys rediscovering technology that has been around for 60 years.
Ah, okay. We can skip that one. But before I get too far, I do want to give another shout out to Channel 26. They're doing a pool and movie extravaganza this summer at Hotel Zaz. So if you're in Albuquerque on Thursday nights, if you want to go watch a movie at the pool, you can go out there and see that with them. So enjoy that. I will be out there.
Is it gonna be stuff like Jaws and Piranha?
One can only hope. I was not asked to program this year, sadly, so there is no Brandon to kill on the lineup. There was things that have happened in the news since we have spoken last, so let's go through a few of those. I won't start with the one I was going to start with because you sound like you want to talk about it. So, do you want to say anything about the new Joker 2 trailer? Because I have thoughts.
My thoughts are the first Joker movie had one of the best trailers ever cut. Like it's just a beautiful trailer. It is remarkable. And then you had the movie.
Hmm.
And the two are not alike. You know?
What?
Yeah.
You were sold a bill of goods?
Right? So the trailer for the second one looks good. It looks really good. There's some gorgeous shots in there that, reference, older other movies. But is it going to be a good movie?
I can say
I don't
no.
know.
Declaratively, I've not seen the trailer yet because I chose not to do that. And I'll tell you why. Because I didn't give a crap about the first one. I don't give a crap about this one. I don't enjoy these. These are not for me. Also, I'm keenly aware that the new one is at least slightly or moderately a musical. And you know what that
Yeah,
means.
no, it is 100% a musical, and your lizard brain just takes you out of that.
Look, I watched the musical this week, so don't judge me.
Okay, which musical did you like and hate?
Well, I like none.
There you go.
Tolerate Blues Brothers. That's what I watched this week.
That's barely a musical.
Yeah, that's
But
as good as I'm going to get. Okay, that is literally. I mean, but come on now. I mean, you got Aretha Franklin and Rick. Almost called him
no,
Rick
no, no,
James.
no, no. As in, there are only a couple of moments that break the whole. They're performing. It's like one of the reasons I think you like
There
Oh
are
Brother, Where Art
rules
Thou.
inside of these silly musical
One of the
situations.
reasons I think you like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, even though that is kind of a musical in the same way, is the fact that there's no moment where they like look to camera and perform just to perform. Everything has a purpose in the story.
Absurd and ridiculous. Hey, Cannes is coming. The favorite film festival of people named Matt worldwide.
You.
There is some big name directors
I
this year. I don't know a lot about any of the movies, but I did send you at least the highlights just to see what you thought about the directors, at least that are coming to Cannes this year.
I didn't get anything
Nothing.
on the Canton thing. No.
What do you mean? You
It is
literally
the
didn't get anything, or you
No,
don't know?
you said you sent me. I didn't get anything from you.
I, team, I'm going to tell you something right now. Let's get a little behind the scenes on Batman movies. We communicate in just about every form of social media. It just depends on how we're feeling at that moment and where we're at. So, human communications.
Okay, okay. Um, I haven't taken a look
That's
at
all
anything.
good. It's all good. Can is always my favorite. It to me it sets a precedent. I think it waned for a few years there.
Can we talk
I
about
was
that? Like,
thinking,
why do you like Can so much? Like, what is it about? Is it just kind of like an more of an old school like the beauty of Hollywood? Because I don't like that. I don't get that vibe from you either.
that definitely is one thing about it. I like a good pomp and circumstance, and Cannes has always been a place for pomp and circumstance, whether it's a big name or whether it's Pamela Anderson showing up on the yacht on the beach. It's a fascinating place.
Oh, we don't want to get into that. You've heard you've heard about
Uh,
the yacht
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
That's sad.
yeah.
But like, I mean,
That's the way of the
okay,
world sometimes.
so I'm taking a look at it right
Yes,
now.
yes.
I do like the fact
Uh-oh.
Can is so weird because everyone associates it with like highbrow art, you know, the things that kind of go between art and commerce, like those movies. But every so often you'll have a Buzz Lightyear thrown
Sure.
in there. Like this year, who are they honoring?
Oh, I've already forgotten.
Lucas,
Oh,
George
okay.
Lucas,
Okay.
which is funny because that guy has influenced movies probably more than any person living,
Mm-hmm.
but very few of his movies would you kind of call like art or have like the weight that you would expect from a Cannes film. You know, like it so like that's the thing that I kind of dig about Cannes is the fact that it's like it seems both kind of trashy and high art at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think the Europeans can understand that. Subtlety is something that happens in the rest of the world. It just doesn't happen in our country anymore, and I think that's part of the whole process of Cannes. I mean, there have been, I remember so many great red carpets of films that ended up being, some of my favorite films of all time, and just knowing the artists and creators that did those things, like that's the moments before you're going to watch your film for the first time from this crowd that can give you all the love in the world and stand for 18 minutes and clap for you, or they can just murder your movie immediately and sing raindrops keep falling on your head during your film and screw up the screening.
Okay, so here's the funny thing. You mentioned the standing ovations, and it seems like that's the two things that people care about are like what people are gonna wear, right? Which
Hmm.
I don't
I
care about.
love.
Like red carpet things. I don't care unless someone's kind of giving a middle finger to it, like Matt and Trey at the Oscars, like
I
that
was
kind of thing.
this close to buying Vincent's outfit when he went there with Brown Bunny, but I ended up not getting it. And it was so good.
But the other thing is the standing ovations, and it's kind of like people equate a film's worth to that, where you hear like Saving Private Ryan got a 25-minute standing ovation,
Yep.
and it's like it seems performative to me, and I'm not a
It's
big
not. It
fan of
doesn't seem.
performative
It
stuff
is.
like
It's
that.
literally performative in that way. That's
Right. So
part of
so
the
so
thing,
I
and it's
don't I'm not a
ridiculous.
fan of yeah, I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff.
That is
You know.
absurd. I would loathe that. Like after like 30 seconds, stop that shit and stop looking at me. I don't like this
I've
at all.
never liked anything enough to clap for that long. Now was it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that got a super long standing ovation, and you could see, I think it was that one where you could see Tarantino just get like visibly uncomfortable,
I believe
where
you are
he's
correct.
like,
Yeah.
guys, like, okay, I get it, you liked it.
Yeah.
He's like, my autism's kind of kicking into overdrive right now.
Yeah. I can't. That's just.
I assume. I don't think he's ever been, officially diagnosed on the spectrum, but you can assume
He has some
that
interesting
he
traits. That's for sure. Also, side. Oh man. Fine. We'll talk about it. Our man Quentin Tarantino decided not to do the movie critic. That will not be his 10th film. That was just announced
This
this
is
week.
not the first time it's happened though. Like he does this like he's been doing this ever since Kill Bill, and people act like it's new every time.
Right.
But like the Vega Brothers movie never happened. The
Hmm.
Kill Bill 3 with, the
The girl.
daughter,
Hmm.
like that never happened. Like yeah, like this kind of stuff always happens with him. And you know what? It's his career.
Oh, sure. Yeah. 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 I mean,
And you know what? He hasn't put out a bad movie yet. So why don't you let the guy do what he does? And there's got to be a reason he didn't do it. Or if he is going to end after 10, and first of all, people are like, you can make more movies. It's like, again, first of all, his career, his legacy. And right now, there's nothing negative on it. There's
Hmm.
nothing mediocre on it. Everything on there is interesting at worst and masterpiece at best, right?
Yep.
So let him handle his own career. If he wants to do 10 and drop the mic at age 60, and leave and say, I never made a bad one. Who else has a run like this? That's incredible. And if he doesn't feel like that's going to be the best way of ending his career in film, let him do what he wants to do. And 10's a nice round number. And it's another thing that kind of leads me to think maybe he's on the spectrum is that like he got obsessed with that. Like a long time ago, it was like, man, if I had 10, no one's done 10 in a row,
Right.
you know? Let him do 10. Like first of all, it's a really easy way to sell later, when you have a 10 disc set or whatever, or a
Sure.
20 disc set for 10 movies. Yeah, it's his career and people just need to shut up about it, right?
People are super weird. I mean, I think it just, I give them credit, or I'll give them a little leniency in the sense that, we all were just excited about the next one. I know there's
Yeah.
been more difficult things other than people just complaining they're not getting another movie soon. But I mean, I think that for the general consensus, that was the idea. And that was how I felt. I mean, I don't give a shit. Again, I agree with everything you said. Tarantino is God and he can do whatever he wants to. I just hope this means we get another season of the podcast, if nothing else. And so that's how
Well,
I'm selfish.
honestly, I think that maybe another reason he just wants to do 10 is so he can refocus his energy. Instead of worrying about what's my next movie, he can say, how am I going to preserve film history? How am I going to get my knowledge of other things out here? And the podcast and, writing books,
Hmm.
And if he's not focused on making movies, and here, okay, here's another thing. He has a very specific way he likes to make movies, and no one's making them that way anymore. And I'm guessing it's also becoming just more difficult, even for someone of his caliber, to make a movie the way he wants to,
Sure.
right? Like, a lot of the old guard, they're having trouble getting stuff made, right? Like every single one of the big guys has had trouble getting something made. And it's not like Tarantino's movies make tons of money either. They make enough, but I've got to imagine that when you ask to shoot on film, no digital set extensions and like all this other stuff, it's like, guys, well, we don't really have a good way of doing this anymore.
Hmm.
Like the miniature work in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they had to bring in Douglas Trumbull, right? And he's
Yes.
been around forever.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. The fact, yeah, they could
Also,
pull him out.
little side thing here. I was watching some videos yesterday about Hollywood Boulevard and how like everything on Hollywood Boulevard is closed, right?
Mm.
Like there's just nothing but closed shops. And all I could think of was, man, I'm really glad he made Once Upon a Time on Hollywood right before the pandemic because I don't know if he could actually get that shot, that one sequence made now because like nothing's there now.
Yeah. Now you're just
So
gonna
I'm
make me
glad
sad
I'm
about
glad
my
he
old
did it when
stomping ground.
glad he did it when he did, but I don't know.
Finishing this out. Finishing this out. I have a. This is a mystery to both of us because I've already forgotten what this is all about. But I do kind of remember getting angry about it. So, why was there an article about cats on the front page of the Reporter?
I didn't see the cats.
It was just about cats, not about the musical Cats, just about cats and movies, I believe was what the article was about. And that's what we're doing, people. That's what we're doing, Hollywood Reporter. Cat movies. What are
Okay,
you,
so
just BuzzFeed now?
that actually kind of goes into something I've been wanting to talk about just in general lately is the fact that um, it's starting to feel like actual film criticism is dying like real fast. Um, for a while, it was, oh, we don't have Siskel and Ebert on TV, and everyone who used to write online, they're going. Who used to write for publications, everything's moving to online. And for about 10 years, you had people reviewing movies online, like on YouTube,
Hmm.
right? They would post essays, like video essays, or they'd sit and review a movie. And now it all seems to be reaction. It's just reacting to something in real time, going, "Ooh, I didn't care for it. Ooh, I like that," and that's about it. And it feels like film criticism. I know it's still there. I know people still do it, but it feels like it's becoming even more niche than it used to be. And it already was pretty,
Yeah.
a pretty small little uh, faction of criticism in general. But like film criticism seems to be also harder to find unless you're already going to very specific places.
Yeah, no, no, I agree because yeah, if you go to just the mainstream movie websites, that's just it's clickbait time. That's just what that is
Yeah.
all about. That's all they're doing. That's all they can do. And I don't necessarily blame the writers for that. I mean, that's just the system that we've decided to build for ourselves, which is just terrible. I hate it. I hate it so much. What's some
Well,
is oh, you know
also,
what? Do you prefer a video movie critic or a writing movie critic?
okay, well, it kind of depends on who it is,
Okay.
right? Like Ebert, I much prefer his writing. His writing, he's a lot more nuanced, and I definitely think he played up the emotion for TV,
Mm,
right? Like you're supposed to.
sure.
Um, the Red Letter Media guys, I love their videos. I watched one last night. I love their stuff. I don't know if I could sit down and read a review of it, right?
Mm,
Leonard Maltin, I think works in either. I think he's good for either film or writing. I actually think he's more verbose in his on-camera stuff than he is. He's very succinct in his writing, and I really like that. But having had the opportunity to have a couple of conversations with the man, he's just a wealth of knowledge, and it really comes across when you talk to him. Um, the problem is there's a friend that I have who does movie junkets, right?
mm-hmm.
I've edited for her forever, and I love it. And we always, talk about the business. And she was saying how it's harder for her, and she's been doing movie junkets for over 10 years, right?
It's a long time
Like
to
when you,
be doing that.
yeah. And she's saying that it's harder for the people who do the junkets to get cleared to go to these events now. Now they're bringing TikTok influencers. And
Yes.
she was saying that she had a chance to there was a movie with I think it was the latest Mission Impossible where for the first time she didn't get invited to go, right? And instead they brought TikTokers. And the TikTokers had a chance to ask one question of Tom Cruise. And their question was something like, what shoes are you wearing?
Right. Of course.
So like if all we're doing is chasing TikTok views, then what are we doing?
Mm.
Like what are we doing here? We're not taking our own business seriously, and we're not considering it an actual art form and something that, and we're devaluing it. We're quickly devaluing it by not allowing uh more critics to actually get their voices in. But then again, you also don't want a case like Rotten Tomatoes where like half the people that are contributing to a Rotten Tomatoes score
Hmm.
really shouldn't be, you know?
Not in the least. And yeah, I wonder. I mean, it's always there's always been obviously situations like that. I mean, ask Pauline Kael about her opinions about some of the people that were around during her time.
Yeah.
I, but at least they were giving some of these things the recognition I feel like they deserve. That's not really happening anymore. You use the word art. I think that that's an important word that we're probably going to use for the rest of the day on the episode because movies that are mine that I consider movies are art, and that's always been the important part of the process to me. Is you're making something that's
Hmm.
art. It's just a longer bit of art, right? And so because commerce has taken over so much, and we're at like an 80-20 split at this point, maybe even,
Yeah.
it's super super hard to finance those, see those. I mean, from the maker to the viewer, it's getting nearly impossible to see that anymore. And I get that that's the evolution of art just in general. That's how it's always been. I'm not mad at it about that, but I just wish that there was some more grasp and understanding of that in the history of movies, and that's what they really are about is the art form.
Well, again, I go back to the Fablemans. The Fablemans is the most personal story from the most successful filmmaker to ever live.
Hmm.
And it was in the theater for 2 weeks. It was in the theater for 2 weeks. That's literally just long enough to get Oscar nominated.
And that's it.
That's it. And Spielberg, it's not like Coppola, who is definitely more of an art house director than Spielberg, or even someone like Scorsese, who, even though he has crossover appeal, has never stopped making art.
Right.
Right? No one can ever say like, oh, he's sold out because he hasn't.
Nope.
Right? Meanwhile, someone who started out making populist popcorn kind of movies and then moved into art after being upset that people only considered him, a pop filmmaker. Um, Spielberg only getting 2 weeks because his stuff is now considered art films. Like that kind of really tells you where we are as a culture and how messed up our view of this is. Because I get like you said it in the last one. It's viewed as content now, but it's culture. It's not even pop culture. It's culture. This is what we will leave behind for future generations. They're going to know about us based off of this stuff. And if we just keep producing, stuff based on video games and which I know I love video games, but or board games or toy lines. If that's all we're doing, that seems like it's doing a disservice to who we are. But the sad thing is that also might be the best reflection of who we are right now, and that's alarming.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not so much the art form that's terrible; it's just us.
It
You
could be
know,
us,
we're
and I feel
we're,
like
we're living
that.
in this, the end times of capitalism, and we've all just gotten our priorities so screwed up
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
that that our art is a reflection of that.
I do feel like, as movies as a whole, there is still the hope that places other than here are making great films, and I know they're really making great
Oh, they
films. I mean, you've
are.
seen over
Yeah.
the last few years in the Oscars, they're beginning to dominate the Best Picture of the year because they are still considering that an art form, and so I have great hope for the film industry in many different countries. I hope South Korea continues to thrive. I thought,
South Korea, especially if you like horror, South Korea is making some incredible art films, right? In,
yep,
in the horror genre. Um, if you want a good dystopian movie or a movie that's just going to make you feel nihilistic, the Japanese do it better than anybody.
sure,
They do it better than anyone. Um, if you want big, fun action movies or romance movies the way they made them in like the 80s or the 90s,
mm,
India's putting out thousands of those a year.
oh sure,
I mean, the reason why RRR did so well is because it feels like a movie from 1989. Like it feels like a big, fun adventure where it's like, does this look pixel perfect? No, but it doesn't matter. Like
right.
our ideas are fun. And we have characters that you enjoy, and no one's winking at the camera saying, look how stupid and silly this is. It's earnest. It has, people
Is that why I
have
don't
big
like Indian
feelings.
films? Because they're earnest? Is that what it is? And I don't do
Yes.
earnest.
Yes. There's not a lot. I don't want to say there's not subtlety, but it's the difference between, um, if you want to look at it, comparison between like acting styles, right? You're not going to find a lot of naturalistic, like Brando-esque kind of performances. You'll find some, but
I don't
like
know.
they're
Katherine
not over the
Heigl
top.
really leans into her roles.
No, I'm talking about in India.
Okay.
In India, um, you're going to find a little more theatricality. It's bigger, but that's how things also used to be. You know.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, booted that. Hey, did you hear? And this is again just the game, and I think we both know exactly why they did that this week. But there was rumblings that Leo was going to play Frank Sinatra in a Scorsese movie. What? And so let's talk about how ridiculous that is, because we all know that's not going to happen. This is what happens in between projects. There's 17 other projects that they're working on, and then somebody hears something, and they read a book, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to happen," and I don't think this is going to happen.
If I had to pick, I'd much rather see the one that we were supposed to get years ago, the Scorsese movie with DiCaprio as H.H. Holmes.
Oh, yeah, that would be better.
That one I wish was made yesterday. Um, I don't know if this will happen because he's still doing his next Jesus movie,
Yep.
which I can't wait for, because every time he touches religion, he makes something really special. You know, Silence is just like that. That's a slap in the face of a movie. Wow, but I I don't know. Like I don't think it'll happen. Also, I hate to say it, but Killers of the Flower Moon took what 3-4 years to make,
Maybe more than that.
and dude's 82.
Yeah, but he can still be president, so you know, it's all fair game. I love these ideas. I couldn't really just think of any off the top of my head, so if you have none, that's all cool too. But do you have any of these potential ideas that were floated out there sometime during history that never came to fruition that you wish that they would have?
Yeah, there was one. It started off as a an April Fool's Day prank in the early 2000s, where they said they were going to make a movie about the USS Indianapolis,
Hmm.
starring Russell Crowe as Quint. So it's like a prequel to Jurassic Park. Yeah,
Hmm.
Jaws. It's a prequel to Jaws. And I'm like, oh man, I would love to see that. Because
That would
first
be
of all,
intriguing. Yep.
we haven't had like a big studio film about the USS Indianapolis. And if you're going to tell that story, why not put Quint in it, and then a younger uh, Russell Crowe? Like, yeah, I was all for that.
I would definitely be interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
Anytime that Tom Cruise's name gets thrown into stuff, I don't care. I'm excited. I mean, he's been thrown in, he was thrown into the Tarantino movie. He's definitely been
He was supposed to play Iron Man
supposed to
originally.
play Iron Man originally.
Yeah.
Him and Joe Carnahan were going to work together on Mission Impossible at one point in time. That obviously he stayed in Mission Impossible. Joe Carnahan left, but I get excited about that. Brad Pitt is another one too. That's just like, okay, he's going to try that this time. When I first heard that that he actually ended up being in Andrew Dominic's film, but I was like, how's he going to do that? Like, what's the approach in that? And then, of course, as always, Brad Pitt crushed it, and it always made me
Yeah.
happy. Also Uma Thurman usually too. I'm like, you know what? Let's see what she's up to nowadays. It was great to see her at the press conference for Turner Classic Movies, was screening Pulp Fiction. They all got together for the anniversary. You had Sam Jackson, Keitel, she was there, and then Travolta was there as well. And just always, she's done some bad movies. So let's be clear on that. Paycheck, but which we're about
One
to
of
talk
them,
about, maybe on a list of mine that lasts forever. I'm just saying.
really.
I didn't say it was. I'm just saying it's a potential. So why not? Let's go ahead and get into that, shall we? I have no idea how long this segment is going to be. This could be a 3-hour episode today, people. I cannot promise anything right now because we are going to get into maybe the hardest topic that this genius
Yeah.
has ever thought of for the show. I've debated this with other people. I haven't told you this, but I wrote like a 3-page email to my cousin explaining all my choices. So I have spent some time on this list because I'm just fascinated by this idea. I want to talk about what movies are we going to watch the most for the rest of our lives. Now, to be
Now,
clear,
this
from
is such.
today, actually,
Ooh,
it's like from 2 weeks ago. But
yeah.
anything before that doesn't count. It's all out the window,
This
all
is
the times.
impossible.
It is impossible, and that's why I love it so much.